West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel and Santokie here, and with me as ever is my partner in crime, Father Santokie. Father Santokie, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, Mash. And, you know, as we always say, never a dull day in West Indies cricket. We're here to look at potential candidates for the West Indies Test captaincy. Obviously, Craig Brathwaite announced he'd resigned about a month ago, and it's all up in the air. It's a vacant role. We had sort of planned candidates to look at. However, in the last 24 hours, there's been a lot of talk in the region about essentially 6 players are being considered for the West Indies Test captaincy. Now, it's important to remember these are reports. Nothing's been officially confirmed. But we believe this is what's going on. 6 players, Roston Chase, Josh De Silva, John Campbell, Jomel Warrican, Tevin Imlach, and Justin Greaves are 6 candidates shortlisted by Cricket West Indies, and they're currently being interviewed and going through what is said to be psychoanalysis tests to determine who should be the most suitable candidate for the Test captaincy role. Now, Mash, this is a long list, quite a surprising list. First question. Is the reason why you're suited and booted is because of you being considered as well for the Test captaincy out here?
Listen, this is no joke. Let me just say this straight off the bat. If those are the 6 people, and I'm more so looking at 4 out of the 6, if those are the 6 people that we're considering to be the next West Indies captain, then they may as well interview me. They might as well because at the end of the day, and I say this with total respect for the process and total respect for the players who are under consideration, but what does it say to the leadership crisis in the region that if put it this way, Santokie, if someone had said to us before we found out yesterday that 6 people are being considered to be the next West Indies Test captain, at least 4, if not 3 of the names on. At least 3, if not 4 of the names on that list, you and I wouldn't have had in our top 6, right? So to me, that speaks to a leadership crisis in West Indies cricket that we're considering. Consider this, Santokie, right? Let me give an example. And this is nothing against Jomel Warrican. I really like Jomel Warrican. I think he's a good human being. He's one of our most improved players, right? But Jomel Warrican, respectfully, doesn't even, in some matches, he don't even get to bowl. So are we saying that we are considering a spin bowler as a captain who sometimes doesn't even bowl in the match to be captain, right? And I'm just, how did his name get in it? Like, what?
Tears. There's actually tears in my eyes. We've gone from the era of the great Frank Worrell, Sir Clive Lloyd, iconic leaders in the world game who have sort of galvanized West Indies cricket to the point where, look, if we go through this list, Jed, just break it down quickly. The first name I saw, Roston Chase. My guy hasn't played a test in over 2 years. So why is Roston Chase on the list? Second name I saw on that list, Josh De Silva. Now, Mash, I know I'm getting old out here. I'm turning into uncle, but if my memory serves me correctly, Josh De Silva got dropped for our last series. So he's not even someone who was picked in the best 11 for our test side in Pakistan. John Campbell. Now, Mash, again, if my memory serves me correctly, Josh Campbell obviously served the band, hasn't played test cricket in 3 years, maybe? Potentially 3 years, was it? 2022. So essentially, we've got 3 players there. The first 3 names on this shortlist aren't currently playing test cricket for us. They're not in the 11 in the test side, and they're being considered for
Can we throw in as well? And I know people are going to say to me, but Mashy was cleared. John Campbell was also part of the debacle in the Super 50 final, right?
John Campbell buscation was at court only a few months ago, and now he's been considered for the most prestigious job in West Indies cooking. All right, so let me go through. I've run through the first 3 names. The next one, you just talked about it, Jomel Warrican. Not a guaranteed starter in the side. Obviously, he's got the Multan Premium, but surely the Multan Premium doesn't extend to being given the captaincy role. Tevin Imlach. Now, Tevin Imlach, on paper, if you take his regional credentials, Guyana Harp Eagles captain, won the regional championship. On paper, he has strong leadership credentials. However, he's only played 2 tests. As we said before, are we really going to drop a man and make him test captain based on 2 tests. And then finally, Justin Graves, which Mash didn't even come into my thinking at all throughout. If you asked me to consider test candidates, Justin Graves, who sort of has been holding the test spot for Jason Holder, realistically, as the all-rounder in the side. Now, I don't want to disrespect Justin Graves. There could be in the camp sort of he's shown qualities, leadership qualities, and his personality might make him suited to be West Indies captain in the eyes of the hierarchy. But for me as well, Mash, Justin Graves, it doesn't make sense. So if I'm looking at those 6 names, if these are the best candidates we can have for the West Indies test captaincy, then as you said, there's clearly a lack of leadership options in the region at the moment, because this is not, for a serious test cricket nation, these just look like random names that we plucked out of the air and hoping that one of them can prove to be a capable captain, because based on credentials and sort of recent history of these players, none of them realistically in any era of West Indies cricket should be seriously considered for the test captaincy. Mash, what are your thoughts?
I think it's disrespectful. Not what you're saying. I don't think what you're saying is disrespectful. I think some of the names on that list is disrespectful to the legacy of West Indies cricket.
Yeah.
Like we're the former 15-year world-beating dominant side, right? We've got a legacy in the game that no other team in world cricket can match, right? And we've got to a point now where we're just throwing any old name out and saying, yeah, we're good. And then it's been based on the story that was broken. The way it's been broken is like, yeah, and they're undergoing like real interviews and metric analysis and and then second interviews. And I'm thinking, but forget all that. Put it this way, Santokie, there's so many things that are running through my head about it, right? Even Justin Graves, like, you could argue his spot's not even safe, because when Jason Holder's back, what's to say he even keeps his spot in the side, right? So even that confuses me. Then when I look through the 6 names, I'm like, every single one of those 6 players, if they are given the captaincy, it's basically mashing up their whole career. Like the West Indies captaincy, whether people want to admit it or not, is a poison chalice. If I was in their position, I wouldn't take it. Yeah. I say that with full respect to the legacy of West Indies cricket. I wouldn't take it. If I was any one of those 6 cricketers, I'd be like, even with my heart and saying, I love West Indies cricket and this is a massive honour to lead the region and so on and so forth, I'd look at the job and go, but I'm on a hide into nothing here. My position in the team ain't even secure for me to be having this captaincy, much less now. I know that any defeat, the region's coming for me because I'll be inexperienced. The region won't be support. Whoever gets picked on that list, Santokie, the region ain't supporting them. Yeah, literally go through every single name, and there isn't any name on that list where I would expect the region to rally round the player and go, well, you know what, this is the correct decision. The only 2 of the, there's 2 in the 6 where I'm like, I can just about get my head round it. Imlach, I could just about get my head round, because you can make the argument that, well, hold on, Guyana are the best 4-day team in the region. That's undisputed. Imlach's the captain, but he's only had 2 tests. He ain't even proven anything in international cricket. And that's not to say that Imlach shouldn't be captain. That's more to say, what do you want to do to his career? You want to mash up my man's career 2 tests into his captaincy, into his career. You want to say, go on then, now you're captain. Josh De Silva, there is a clear argument you can make, because he was the one who was groomed to have it from day dot. So at least with Josh, you can literally draw a timeline and go, well, captain 18 for bare times. Anyone with any cricketing sense can see that Josh has been slowly but surely groomed for it. Captain's Trinidad now. So you can make an argument around Josh, only to say, yeah, but his form's gone off a cliff in international cricket. Granted, he's been good domestically in the last 5 months or so, and then he got dropped in Pakistan. The flip side to that argument about being dropped, though, because I should say it, is that it's a new head coach, and Sammy could well say, "Well, Andre Coley dropped him. That's nothing to do with me. Josh is coming back into the side, and I'm going to give him the captaincy because he fulfills all the key captaincy credentials." My take is this, Santokie: if Josh gets it, it at least makes timeline sense to me. I can at least understand. There is a narrative I can understand if Josh ends up with it. I don't think it's necessarily a decision that the region would support in some areas more than others, but at least you could justify it somewhere. Imagine it's not Imlach or Josh, though. Just for a second, let's just say it's not those two. Who would you give it to, Santokie? Because I don't understand the rationale for the other four.
Yeah, I think firstly, like I agree with what you're saying. As much as people will listen to our show and say, we're always making a joke of everything, I think both me and you, we've grown up similar through the legacy of West Indies cricket passed down through our grandparents. Our parents have told us about this great history we've had. And the leadership, the test captaincy for West Indies cricket has always meant, particularly with Clive Lloyd and Frank Worrell, it went beyond sort of even cricket in terms of the social impact it had and the changes it made. So for both of us, the test captaincy is still a big thing. As down bad as West Indies have, it still means something in the region. And like you said, if I looked at those list of names and the credentials behind it, and I didn't know what was going on in recent West Indies cricket, I would assume there was a strike going on and all the players were out. This is like, remember 2009 when we had the emergency strike and you had to throw in a captain because there's no one that stands out. Like you said, Josh De Silva probably has the biggest claim to it in terms of being groomed as vice captain and sort of his credentials. But even then, Mash, he got dropped in Pakistan, got told to make runs, which he did for Trinidad and Tobago. That's the juncture where, as a young cricketer, you say, ease him back into the side. You don't just throw the captaincy at him again because that's going to add a lot of pressure. And like you said, there's going to be a regional cuss out of Josh, no matter his credentials. Tevin Imlach is the second favourite. And like we said, he's someone who's had 2 tests. And we know he can captain based on what he's done at the regional level. But again, really, are these the best 2 options we've got in the region? That's no disrespect to Josh or Tevin, more for their own playing sake. You want them to have a good run in the side without the pressures of captaincy. And it's very interesting, Mash. You talked about if I was a player and I was offered the captaincy, it's a poison chalice. I wouldn't want it. We've had reports in the region, people messaging us from reputable sources saying Shea Hope has declared he doesn't really want, he's not interested in the captaincy, and that would be a logical move because he's white ball captain and he hasn't played any red ball cricket much in the last 5 years, so he'll want to put his head down if he is recalled and focus there. The only other realistic option we thought of was Kemar Roach, who's a veteran in the side. Give it to him similar to how New Zealand gave the captaincy to Tim Salvi. Give it to a veteran where there's slightly less pressure. He doesn't need to prove himself. We know what Kemar Roach is. He's experienced. He's got respect in the locker room. And have him do it for a year while we try to figure out and groom a vice captain who can take over from Kemar Roach. So have a sort of interim option. Obviously, from what the reports are coming out yesterday, that's not been considered. And the final option would have been Alzari Joseph, who previously has been vice captain. But as we've always said, what happened in the white ball series against England, where he quite clearly disrespected Darren Sammy on the boundary rope and kind of stormed off the pitch, that sort of has ruled him out. So a few circumstances have led to this fact where I think realistically, Mash, I don't know what your thoughts are. It's going to boil down to Josh De Silva or Tevin Imlach. There's been reports in the media. They've both been asked about it. They both said they would love to do it. It looks like it's down to those two. I thought potentially maybe Alec Afanase may be in the running. That's clearly not based on reports not being considered. So I think it's down to one or the other. But as you said, Mash, either one, I mean, my gut instinct is if either one is given captaincy, you're leading to a recipe for disaster.
Listen, what I'd love to know is nobody in Cricket West Indies will ever admit this, or I assume they won't. Maybe Darren Sammy will admit it when he has his next press conference. But I would love to know, how did we come up with the 6? So was there a cricket committee meeting where everybody was able to put forward their short list of names? Was it that players were invited to suggest that because think about how a job works, Santokie. Yes, there's headhunting in jobs, but what do you think happened here, Santokie? Do you think 6 people were headhunted and contacted and said, would you like to be captain of the West Indies team? We're putting together a flipping 3-part process. Would you like to take part in this process? And if you win, you're going to be the next captain. Or do you think players were contacted as a whole and said, you are invited to apply to be the next captain of the West Indies? Because, and if it's not the If it's not the latter, Santokie, that means somebody sat in a meeting with a straight face and went, "Yeah, I think Justin Gray should be the next captain." That means someone sat there with a straight face with no banter and went, "Yeah, I think that's a realistic candidate to be the next captain of the West Indies team."
So, firstly, if candidates were invited to apply, you got to give the job to John Campbell just for the guts of sending in an application saying, "Look, guys, I know I've been banned. I know I've held the ban. I ain't played Test cricket in 3 years, but I think I'm the man who could lead West Indies into the golden generation." I think it was a headhunting option. I think they had a big board and they sort of had the names and they narrowed it down to 6. Surely it had to be that Mash, because there's such a variety of players being considered. But again, was it Miles Bascom and Darren Sammy who did this? Was it a separate panel who kind of looked at characteristics? And I'd also love to know, what is this psychoanalysis test? What are you basing?
That's what I'm saying. That suggests to me they've got like a leadership consultant in. It wouldn't surprise me if they've got some kind of leadership consultant who's looked at characteristics and gone, that makes your best leader. Not too dissimilar. Remember, let's not pretend like there isn't a precedent for this in West Indies cricket. When Sammy was made captain of the West Indies team, everyone will forget there was a regional cuss-out when Sammy was made captain of the Test team. He weren't even established. And he got the Test captaincy, and people are like, boy, it's a small island move. And how's Sammy getting captaincy? He can't even hold his place. So this technically has happened before, right? And Sammy had to really overperform to prove himself to make the regional cuss-out die down. So there's an argument to say, of whoever of these 6 get it, maybe they can pull a Darren Sammy out and be like, boy, I'm going to now become so indispensable I could never get dropped, right? Or also, you can make an argument to say that when Holder first got the captaincy, people were like, what on earth is a 23-year-old getting the captaincy for? He's in the team, but he's 23, he ain't really got experience like that. But I think at least with Holder, people accepted he was good as a cricketer. Yeah. If not the fact he shouldn't get it as a 23-year-old. So you could, let's play devil's advocate, argue and say, well, we've been here before, but are these names, Santokie, on the same kind of caliber of Darren Sammy when there was a regional cuss-out when he was made captain? Or are we saying that below the level that Sammy was at?
I would say, well, I think firstly, Sammy one was complicated because at least the first point was he was in the West Indies side when he was made captain. He was a regular in that 11. And secondly, he came at the era where we had the players on strike and he sort of almost ironically but was like a yes man at the time for the administration. So they kind of made him like the figurehead and the captain. I'd say if we're looking at it now, realistically, Imlach and Justin Greaves are the only sort of regulars in the Test side, current Test side. And Imlach's only played 2 tests. And like you said, Justin Greaves, it feels like he's holding a spot for whenever Jason Holder's available. So there's no one really in that 6 who's a guaranteed starter over a consistent period of time in that Test 11. So that's the big difference there, Mash, I think. And there's no one on strike either. These are the best options as well. Like the Sammy and Holder, when Jason Holder's made captain, came in a period where players were having dispute with the boards. Our best players weren't necessarily playing Test cricket. There were omissions, those kind of things. So for me, it's such a bad reflection that essentially there are no issues off the field. Essentially, of the cohort of players we got playing Test cricket, these are the best. These are the best that we can find. But I would love to know, going back, Nash. I think you're right. I think maybe a leadership consultant's been brought in because why would you, for instance, Roston Chase? Why would you shortlist him for the captaincy? What has he done? Like, he hasn't played Test cricket in over 2 years. So has there been some sort of weird like test where you have to show how you'd react in different situations? And you reckon
people have to fill in like when you go for a job interview and you have to do like a data entry task?
Yeah, like
oh yeah. Are you telling me men had to do a test?
Maybe they saw the Roston Chase. Maybe they used the Roston Chase. Remember he did that Instagram post where him and Carl Mayers and he put Greenwich and Hayes.
Greenwich and Hayes. Yeah,
they saw that and thought, you know what, this guy's got confidence. Well, this is what we're looking for in a leader. Because at Mash, I can't work out. I would love to be a fly on the wall for these interviews and work out what they're looking for and what's being said. But we said we're just going to keep this a quick one, just an immediate reaction to sort of where we're going from it. Mash, if you looked at these candidates, who would be your pick for Test captain?
I'm going to be consistent. we have done videos from way back, and anybody who's a proper supporter, follower of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast will know that we said well over a year ago that we thought that Josh De Silva would be the next captain of the West Indies team after Craig stepped down. So I'm going to stay consistent and say I always said it would be Josh. I just didn't expect Josh to be dropped to then go and get the captaincy. Yeah. I just assumed, right, Josh will be in the team. So put it this way, Santokie, if Josh was still in the team and had gone to Pakistan and Craig stepped down, there'd be no debate, you know. Everyone would go, well, it's Josh De Silva, isn't it? Yeah. Nobody would be debating it. We'd all just go, well, there'd be uncles cussing about it, but everyone would accept, well, it's Josh De Silva. He's naturally the one who's being groomed to do it. What has complicated the Josh argument is the fact he got dropped in Pakistan. So now it makes it look weird if he now becomes captain. So I'm going to say it should be Josh, who comes in to captain the side. And I think, Santokie, we will know who's going to be the captain based on who is in that A-team squad and who's given the captaincy in the A-team squad against South Africa. That will definitively tell us who's the next captain. We won't have time to touch on it now. By all means, people can put in the comments below. But two other points that I will just raise, Santokie, you may want to touch the latter one. Interesting that they've given us these 6 names and Alec Athanaze's name isn't in it. Not because I think he should be there, but because he actually is a captain in the region and he's in the test team, yet his name doesn't show up in this 6. So that's quite interesting. Did he say no? I don't know. And then the other thing is, if Roston Chase's name is there, we therefore have to assume Roston Chase is coming back into the test team, because what on earth is he doing there unless they plan to recall him in front of Kevin Sinclair or something? What do you reckon to that?
Yeah, so firstly, I think Alec Athanaze, he was on local radio in Barbados about a week ago, and they asked him about captaincy, and he said he would love to be captain of the West Indies Test side. It's been a dream for him. So you'd imagine he hasn't been selected rather than he's declined. And yeah, Roston Chase has to be maybe he's the mystery man, Mash, because he has to. Surely you can't. A panel shortlist can't be leaked with Roston Chase's name on it to be considered as a West Indies Test captain. And then you're saying he's not even in the squad for when it's released against Australia. So Roston Chase has to be in that side. But I just don't see how he skipped the queue and suddenly become a front runner for the sort of panel shortlist of 6. It was said actually as well with this news leak that they were going to shortlist it down to 2 this week and then have a head-to-head between the 2. So we'll probably have more information in the week or so. But I think you're right, Mash. I think the A-team tour will reveal essentially who's captain, because you'd imagine Imlach, Warrican, Josh De Silva will play in that A-team tour. So whoever is captain for that A-team tour, it wouldn't surprise me if it's announced before the A-team tour who the West Indies.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Otherwise, it would just give it away. So very interesting. Like you said, I'm surprised that Kemar Roach hasn't been mentioned as an option. But I think, like you, I think Josh De Silva would have been the obvious choice. There wouldn't be a debate if he hadn't been dropped. But now I think it's between Josh De Silva and Tevin Imlach. And just to finish off, Mash, in an alternate universe, if everything was right with West Indies cricket, we wouldn't be having this debate. Shimron Hetmeyer would be the West Indies Test captain, because he was someone before Josh, before everything, long term. He led the under-19s to the World Cup victory. He was groomed as the future leader, the next generational leader in the thing. So again, things haven't gone to plan there, and we've ended up in a situation where we're either picking a man who's played 2 tests in his whole life, or a man who hasn't played the last 2 tests because he got dropped. Basically, we're down to Josh De Silva and Tevin Imlach. So Mash, all we can do for the love of West Indies cricket is hope and pray.
We're down horrendous, cuz. Every time I think West Indies can't do another madness to us, we get a next madness, cuz. Oh my
God. All right, if it is John Campbell, I need to be.
Imagine.
Can you imagine?
Imagine if we give the captaincy to someone who didn't play for 3 years, took a drug ban or drugs whereabouts ban, no-showed the Super 50 final, and somebody has said, yeah, he's captaincy material. He's captaincy material. He should be the next one. Someone somewhere said that. Listen,
we're gonna wrap it up there. The obvious question is, comment below. Who do you think should be the next West Indies Test captain of that list of 6, or do you think it should be someone outside of that list? it's important to stress this hasn't been confirmed. This is a list of 6. It's been heavily reported. So we're reacting to that news as ever. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow us on all of social media, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, patreon.com/carrycricket. Any little will help. We're trying to get out there, fund ourselves to get out to Ireland for the White Ball series. Thank you to those of you who donated for the last YouTube episode we did on the Ireland reaction tour. If you'd like to donate, you can do it via YouTube as well. And we're also on Facebook. So, Mash, that's been it. We eagerly await to see of that 6, the magnificent 6, who will be appointed West Indies Test captain. And as always, we'll be back. More content coming fast and furious here on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Wherever you are watching this across the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Hope you have a good day, and we'll see you very soon.
Peace, people.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.